Today, EFF leader Julius Malema's case has been postponed to the 5th of June next year in the Bloemfontein Magistrate's Court. Malema is accused of contravening the Riotous Assemblies Act. This relates to the statements he made during his party's elective conference in 2014 when he called on EFF members to occupy vacant land. Prosecutor Jabulani Mlocha asked the court to postpone the case to the 5th of June next year. This is pending a decision of the High Court into Malema's application to challenge the legislation which was used to charge him. Malema is challenging the charges leveled against him under the Riotous Assemblies Act of 1956. His lawyer, Dumi Mukwena, has indicated the EFF leader will present himself to the court on a set date if judgment in his application is delayed and possibly ask for a further postponement. The EFF leader also appeared in Newcastle Magistrate Court last week on similar charges.
After the adoption of the Freedom Charter on the 26th of June 1955 at Cape Town, they passed this law reacting to the Freedom Charter, because the Freedom Charter was saying, occupy the land wherever you choose to occupy the land. It's not Malema, it's the Freedom Charter. It's not Malema, it's that K. Matthews. It's Howard Tambo, it's Walter Sisulu, it's A.P. Mda, it's Nelson Mandela, who said before me that you must occupy the land wherever you choose. So the ANC is using the law which was meant to challenge the Freedom Charter against anyone who promotes the aspirations of the Freedom Charter. Because all we are saying is that if every single clause of the Freedom Charter is implemented, our people will be free from economic oppression.
For more on this story, across to our reporter Aldrin Sampier in Bloemfontein. Good afternoon, Aldrin. Could you please give us an understanding of what's going on out there?
Well, Kendall, as you've indicated earlier on, that the court case has been postponed to the 5th of June, and as expected, these thousands or hundreds rather of EFF supporters who were marching outside the court have now dispersed. They've head back to the hall where they had an early night vigil yesterday, so they've head back to that. Just looking into the court proceedings that took place today, the matter being postponed to the 5th of June, and this is to allow the court proceedings or the application by Julius Malema to have the Riotous Assemblies Act declared unconstitutional to be vented out in a court of law, and based on the outcome of that court case, that will then determine whether the case against Julius Malema will be going ahead. So if the court comes to a determination that actually the Riotous Act of 1956 is unconstitutional, that would mean that the National Prosecuting Authority cannot continue with its case against Julius Malema, and that is, of course, if they decide, if the Justice Minister, who I believe is one of the people mentioned or cited as respondents in this case, believes that this is a matter which should be taken up to the Constitutional Court for a final decision. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that will plan out. Something that the Chief Magistrate also indicated here is that considering the nature of this application, it seems as though that the matter won't even be heard before the 5th of June. So the case will then be postponed to a later date. That is, the case of incitement will be postponed to a later date, and this of course will affect the case of Newcastle as well. Remember that case had been postponed to the 7th of December, but there will only be one court application with regards to the challenge of the Riotous Act. And earlier on, Julius Malema addressing the hundreds of supporters outside here, as well as having Mqebo Dlamini, who is an ANC member, standing right behind him in support of what they call the battle for land. And my colleague Palisa was outside the courtroom following the EFF supporters, who are all saying that the land must be brought back. Palisa, what can you tell us from the interaction of some of those supporters of the EFF as well as Julius Malema's remarks?
Well, I have been outside the Bloemfontein Magistrate's Court since this morning, in fact, and throughout the entire court proceedings. Now, here in President Brown Street, where the Bloemfontein Magistrate Court is, it was completely closed off. This is where EFF supporters in their hundreds had come to support their leader, Julius Malema. Now, it's been peaceful. Just after the court had finished with its proceedings, everybody came outside. By everybody, I mean the EFF leadership that was inside court. They came outside to just address all of the supporters. Now, before Malema took to the podium to address his supporters, one of the people that actually took to the podium was Mcebo Dlamini, who we know to be the leader of the Fees Must Fall campaign. And his message basically was that blacks should unite, particularly at this time. He says that black people should unite against what he calls white monopoly. Now, shortly after him, his speech was quite brief. Shortly after him, Floyd Shivambu, who is Julius Malema's deputy, took to the stage to also just give a short message where he was also just rubber stamping the EFF's position on, occupying land. Now, shortly after him, obviously, Julius Malema also took to the podium to talk about exactly that issue, that there should be expropriation of land without compensation. And he also said that this case that brought him to court today is actually a political case, and that it's actually brought up by the ANC trying to attack the EFF. Now, obviously, after all of the speeches, we also just got in touch with the supporters to hear what their views are. And mostly what the word that we got was that, yes, there is a need for land to be occupied. People say that they want land, they need land, and that the plan is to do exactly what Malema is saying, and that is to occupy land. People are complaining about shortage of land, and also they're also talking about issues related to the economy, that the economy is still, in the hands of whites, that's what they say, and that they want to be able to be economically free themselves. With that, it's back to the studio.
Thank you very much there to Alden Sampi and Pale Samweti in Bloemfontein outside the Magistrate's Court, where the EFF's leader, Julius Malema, was in court this morning.